What up, you guys? Rasati out here in Singapore. And yeah, back again because I have another question for you guys. So, I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago. We went out for a brunch. And it was actually really fun because we got to talk about a lot of different things. And I love being around people. I love being able to pick their brains and let them, ask questions or whatever. I like good conversation. I live for good conversation. So, anyway, this conversation, we were talking, and it occurred to me that a lot of times we have friendships that are very, very well protected, as in we don't let arguments even happen because we care about the relationship so much. There are a lot of those protective relationships out there, though. So, for instance, let's see. A lot of the friends that I have right now are new friends. They're not people I grew up with because I only just came back to Singapore 7 years ago, and even then, it's been in the last, I don't know, maybe 3 years that I've started actually reaching out and connecting with people again, like physically in person. Up until then, I was still talking to people overseas, trying to run a business online, so I wasn't really getting out and meeting the locals until recently. So when I talk about friendships, there are platonic friendships that I have not actually gotten into, you know, um, heated discussions about anything with. We see each other at, occasions or whatever. We see each other at the temple, maybe family gatherings, birthday parties, weddings, stuff like that. So it's always limited amounts of time when we actually speak to each other. And I don't always have the space or the environment to really dig into some deep life kind of stuff. So a lot of times they're all facetious conversations. What are you doing? How are you doing? How was the wedding? Did you see this? How's this going, that going? It's like very, very on the surface level conversations. But I also know that there are some relationships that I haven't allowed to get past a certain point because I kind of want to protect their image of me and my image of them. It's almost like that, right? So I was talking to this friend, and he was talking about, he and his boy have been friends since primary school. It was awesome. And they had a misunderstanding, and suddenly it's like they don't talk to each other at all. And I'm thinking, so is this the first misunderstanding you've had? And they were like, yeah, pretty much. This is the first big misunderstanding we've had. And I was like, okay, well, you've been friends for 20 years. You don't think you should, I don't know, reach out, clear the air, smooth things, or I don't know, say something? And he was like, no, he knows what he did wrong, and I don't feel like talking to him anymore. And I'm thinking, holy cow. But this is what happens when you have friendships where you don't actually dig past a certain level. You kind of keep it on the surface. Hey, are we having lunch? How are we going out for drinks? How's your girlfriend? How's your boyfriend? How are the kids? Are you getting married? It's not anything deep or what do I say? How do I even say this? They're not deep conversations. You're not actually really talking about anything. You're not talking about your values. And honestly, this happens with dating at the moment as well. People don't get into the real crux of the matter. They don't really talk about, okay, well, how were you raised in your home? And how was I raised in my home? And how do you like to do things? Are you very detail oriented or whatever? How do you manage your life? And what do we have in common as far as schedules and how we manage time? We don't talk about those things. Why? Because that's none of anybody else's business, right? No, people need to know that. We need to really understand each other as friends. And I think that a lot of times we get away with just the bare minimum in friendships so that the first time something big happens, you don't know how to react. You don't know how to work anything. And even then, a lot of times it's not like, okay, well, let's dig into this a little bit. Let's pick on it. Let's take it apart. Let's look at everything that could have happened. And I want to know why you thought it was okay to behave this way. And I want to tell you what I would have expected. And I want you to do the same. We don't talk like that. Why though, right? Why? Because honestly, if you talk like that, nothing and no one would come between your friendship. Nothing and no one would be able to tear you guys apart. Sure, you may agree to disagree. You may not like what the other person has to say, but you know what? Because y'all been ride or die since day one, you're not going to let this small thing or this disagreement or this variation in opinions stop you guys from being friends. Because honestly, who is going to have a friend that knows exactly all about you, likes everything that you like, and you still get along and have things to talk about? Variety is the spice of life, right? You need a little bit of variation out there. You need people out there who believe different things or are interested in different things, because otherwise, how would you learn new things, people? So my question to you is, how many of your relationships, how many of your friendships are protected? How many of you are confident that you could get in a fight with your best mate right? I mean, knock down, drag out. Maybe things come out badly. Maybe you say things so mean and you cuss people out and blah, blah, blah. You like really dig into some stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to get it off your chest, and they know you're just getting it off your chest. And at some point, you're going to calm down and you go back to this conversation. You're going to talk about the things that actually came up. You're going to discuss why they came up. What did they mean? What is it that you don't understand? Why is it you feel this way? Because that is how real relationships are built. That is how we actually stand firm together on the same things. That is when I know if I need to go into battle, I can call your ass up, and no matter what misunderstandings we may have had in the past, I know you're going to be there for me. You understand? So those are the things that are really, really important, and I really wish people would take this into consideration. It's really important. Now, in the meantime, I'm hoping that you have a chance to look at the relationships that are around you. Whether it's your boyfriend, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your colleagues, your best friends, all of those people, look at all those relationships. How often have you felt comfortable enough to really voice your opinion? And maybe it's not at them. Maybe it's something you just wanted to say so you can get their opinion about it. But how many of us are so scared to say what's really on our minds? So we don't end up saying anything at all, and we end up living these lives of quiet desperation, just wishing someone would understand us. Why? Because we've never actually said anything for anyone to understand us with. We've never said anything of value. We've never actually given a piece of ourselves and allowed ourselves to be vulnerable enough to be judged or not judged. Give them the option to actually, to have that space to be able to do that, but choose not to. We don't allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to really develop any kind of trust in a relationship. And that's part of what's wrong with all of our marriages now at the moment, with the way we relate to our parents, our kids, our spouses. It's really, really very difficult. People break at the first sign of trouble, and that's not the way things are meant to be. We were meant to last like the original Ford T models. You could have run into the side of a house and that thing would bounce back because it was made of very, very strong steel. It was reinforced like no one's business. It was built like a damn tank, and it didn't actually take on all of the impact. You would get hurt inside the car, but the car would not be dented. You get me? Now, all of the cars, all of the phones, like how many of you have a phone that's lasted more than a year? How many of you have a car that's lasted more than 10 years or more than 100,000 miles? They're built to break down after a certain point, because no matter how many tune-ups you put them through, or how many, oil changes and balance and rotating of tires and changing out spark plugs, all those things, after a certain point, they're built to fall apart because they want you to buy a new one. This is how the economy works. But for humans, we don't get to recycle through people. That's not the way we're built. We want to know that we matter. We want to know that we have, significant human relations. And in order to do that, we need to learn how to be vulnerable. In order to be vulnerable, we kind of need to know what we like and what we don't like. We need to know how we can communicate and establish boundaries, things like that. So, my question to you is, how many of your relationships are well protected? Situations where you've never been vulnerable because you don't want to get hurt. So that means you've never had a fight with these people, but you've been friends for a certain number of years, but the relationship has never been tested. That's what I want to know. Leave me comments, send me messages. I want to know, because if you're having trouble and you're worried about being vulnerable in front of people, that's something I can actually teach you. So if you're interested, hit me up. Let's talk, because I am tired of shallow relationships. I want real friends. I want real connection. I want to know that y'all are with me when it comes to really feeling connected to people, really feeling loved and appreciated, really feeling seen. This is how we attack suicide. This is how we stop those numbers from rising. Okay? This is important, you guys. Please hit me up. I want to know. So in the meantime, y'all take care, okay? Take care of each other. And please open up, okay? I'll catch you later. Bye.